Your passport is valid, your flight is booked. But at immigration, you're pulled aside. No entry, no explanation. Across Europe, Asia, and Latin America, some US passports are being flagged, scanned twice, and even denied. It's not a system error, it's deliberate. Stick with me because what's triggering these blocks might be hiding in your digital life. 8. Behavior pattern watch lists from AI border systems. You're calm, your passport is valid, but your travel path raises a digital red flag. AI now tracks your routes, ticket patterns, and transit behavior globally. In 2025, dozens of countries have adopted border AI that cross-references your travel history, flight frequency, and entry behavior. If you book frequent one-ways, hop borders quickly, or switch SIM cards too often, your passport may be auto-flagged for secondary screening or soft denial. One traveler was denied entry into Singapore after landing from Istanbul, despite having no criminal record. Your travel pattern matches known smuggling profiles, said the officer. No crime, no proof, just pattern. Even US frequent flyers are being surprised, flagged for suspicious behavior just for booking solo tickets or spending too little time in country. Your intent doesn't matter. The AI decides your risk level before you reach customs. What's worse, these systems are synced across borders, so a soft flag in Singapore could lead to interrogation in Frankfurt weeks later. And you'll never know what triggered it, only that your passport is now watched. Still think you're safe? The next reason involves content you posted years ago, and it's getting Americans banned without warning. 7. Social media posts are being scraped for security risk behavior. An old post, a sarcastic tweet, a photo from a controversial region. That's all it takes for your passport to get flagged. In 2025, border agencies in countries like Turkey, UAE, China, and even France are using AI tools to scrape public social media accounts linked to your digital identity. If you posted about visiting conflict zones, shared political memes, or criticized local governments, even years ago, it could come back to haunt you. One US traveler was denied entry to the UAE after officials referenced her 3-year-old Instagram story supporting LGBT rights. Another was pulled aside in India after tweeting sarcastically about airport security in Tel Aviv. We reserve the right to deny entry to any individual who displays destabilizing political behavior, read the rejection notice. Even likes and retweets are sometimes used as indirect expressions of intent. And the scary part? You won't know what triggered it. These decisions are made by back-end systems tied to visa databases and cloud-based risk assessment tools. And yes, deleting posts won't always help. Many governments archive snapshots of digital profiles for repeat travelers. So before you post that hot take or border selfie, remember customs might already be watching. The next reason is even more chilling. It's tied to your unpaid taxes. 6. IRS debts over $59,000. Now trigger passport restrictions abroad. You're halfway through your trip. Then, at a connecting airport, you're told your passport is invalid for travel. Why? Because the IRS flagged it. Since 2018, the US government has enforced a rule that allows the IRS to restrict or revoke passports for Americans who owe over $59,000 in delinquent taxes. But in 2025, that policy has evolved. Foreign immigration systems can now recognize those flagged documents in real time. That means if you're on a restricted travel list and attempt to enter a country with shared intel, like Canada, the UK, or Japan, you could be stopped at the border, even mid-trip. One businessman was turned around at Heathrow after a pop-up alert flagged his passport for IRS resolution pending. "No one warned me, I'd paid part of the debt already," he told CBS. And here's the catch. Passport restrictions can remain in place for months, even after partial payments. Many Americans find out only when they're already abroad, when re-entry or onward travel is suddenly blocked. If your tax debt matches the threshold, your passport isn't fully yours anymore. Stick with me, because next we're diving into how international warrants from other countries are flagging US citizens, even if they have done nothing wrong. 5. International warrants can flag you, even without a US crime. You've never been arrested, no pending charges, but an old business trip abroad just triggered a border alert in Europe. That's because Interpol red notices are now automatically synced with US passport checks overseas. In 2025, countries like Spain, Germany, and South Korea began tightening cooperation with Interpol's digital alert system. This means if a country, even one you've only transited through, files a claim or opens a foreign investigation involving your name, your passport could be flagged. One man was detained in Amsterdam for an alleged customs violation in Argentina, even though the case was dismissed locally. Another American woman was flagged in Morocco due to a former employer listing her on a fraud investigation in Dubai. She was never contacted in the US, but her passport had already been linked. We act on alerts. The burden of proof comes later, said a border agent in Lisbon. The scary part? You often won't know anything is wrong until you're already abroad. Even if you're cleared eventually, the initial detainment can mean missed flights, denied visas, or weeks of red tape. And now, with digital legal networks expanding, a single name match may be all it takes. Coming up next, a rule that's targeting dual citizens with split allegiances without their consent. 4. Dual citizens are being flagged for allegiance conflicts. You were born in the US, but your parents weren't. And in 2025, that alone could get your passport flagged under citizenship mismatch protocols. Several countries, including China, Israel, Russia, and Iran, do not recognize dual citizenship. That means when you enter on a US passport but their records still list you as their citizen, you can be treated as a domestic traveler, stripped of US consular protections. One dual US-Iranian traveler was detained in Tehran after officials claimed he failed to report for mandatory military service. His US passport temporarily confiscated. Another US-Chinese student was barred from leaving mainland China due to a family registry conflict filed decades ago. The US State Department warns, in countries where dual citizenship is not recognized, US citizens may be treated solely as nationals of that country. This means if you're detained, interrogated, or even drafted, you're on your own. You may not even know you're listed as a citizen of that country. Old birth records, family names, or residency histories can trigger it. It's not about where you live now, it's about where your paperwork lives and who claims you on it. Next, we look at how your past travel to sanctioned nations can shadow you forever. Past travel to sanctioned countries leaves a permanent digital trail. You took a trip to Cuba in 2019, or maybe Iran in 2021. You followed all the rules, or so you thought. But now, in 2025, your passport is being flagged because of it. Governments worldwide, especially in the EU, Middle East, and East Asia, have adopted stricter screening for travelers who have previously visited blacklisted or sanctioned countries. Even if you entered legally, your passport's digital chip stores exit entry logs that sync with newer airport databases. One American returning from Italy was pulled aside in Germany after his passport pinged an old stamp from Syria. He wasn't denied entry, but he was interrogated for 3 hours and placed on an increased surveillance list. Even erased passport stamps can still appear on digital logs, says a former border tech consultant. Sanctioned countries in 2025 include North Korea, Iran, Cuba, Syria, Belarus, and select Russian provinces. And if you've traveled to any of them, you may be considered a risk, not just in that country, but in countries that oppose it. Worse still, some alliances, like the Five Eyes nations, share these logs automatically. So even if your passport is clean on paper, its chip may still tell a very different story. Next up is the most personal and painful reason yet. 2. Family surveillance flags trigger delays and denials. You've never broken the law, but your cousin has. Or your brother was once investigated, and now your passport is under silent watch. In 2025, multiple governments, including Canada, Israel, Australia, and the UAE, have adopted familial security profiling, a controversial method where you can be flagged based on the actions or affiliations of close relatives. Even if those relatives live in another country, even if you haven't spoken in years, your biometric ID may be linked by genealogy tracing or visa application data. One US student was denied entry into Tel Aviv because her uncle had appeared in a pro-Palestinian database years earlier. Another traveler was delayed in Abu Dhabi because his surname matched a person of interest in a terrorism investigation, despite no biological relation. According to a leaked internal memo, relational analysis is a key step in pre-clearance risk scoring. If your last name, hometown, or digital trail overlaps with a red-flagged individual, you may be asked to explain it or prove you're not related. This raises a terrifying question. What if you're being watched because of someone else? And now, coming up next, is the single most dangerous reason of all. It's happening inside the US, and most Americans don't even know it's legal. 1. Secret US watch lists are silently flagging passports abroad. You're not a criminal, you've never been convicted, but somehow your name is on a list. And now your passport is triggering alerts in countries you've never even visited. In 2025, thousands of Americans are unknowingly listed in terrorist screening databases, silent hit lists, or enhanced border watch registries, often with no formal notification. These lists are shared with foreign governments, airlines, and private security firms under post-9/11 data agreements, still active today. What does that mean for you? It means your passport could trigger secondary inspection, interrogation, delayed entry, or even visa denial in over 40 countries, and you might never know why. One teacher from New Jersey was stopped at an airport in Madrid, then told he could not enter due to US security markers. When he contacted the US embassy, they simply responded, "We cannot confirm or deny your presence on any list." Even simple connections, attending the wrong fundraiser, following a flagged account, or sharing a device with someone under investigation, can place your passport under suspicious status. The worst part? There's no formal appeal process. You're not notified. You're not charged. But the flag remains. So, and it follows your passport worldwide. Be trusted. Your US passport may open borders, but it may also trigger hidden systems you never see. Subscribe now for critical updates, untold travel alerts, and real security briefings every traveler needs. Stay informed, stay ahead, and protect your freedom to move.